Sony dropped the PlayStation Portable back in 2004, it wasn't just another handheld console. It was a generation-defining move. The PSP was more than a little gaming gadget. It was a full-blown media powerhouse. You could slip right into your pocket. Movies, music, and games that looked dangerously close to PS2 quality? Yeah, it blew minds. And let's be real, the library was stacked. From blockbuster hits to hidden gems, the PSP gave us way more than just nostalgia. It gave us some of the greatest portable experiences of all time. So today, we're settling it once and for all. These are the 50 best PSP games ever made. Starting at number 50 is Harvest Moon, Hero of Leaf Valley. Now, Harvest Moon on PSP wasn't just a farming sim. It was a slice of life packed into your pocket. Hero of Leaf Valley took the classic formula of growing crops, raising animals, and building relationships, but layered it with something much bigger. Saving the entire town from being bulldozed by a greedy corporation. That gave the game stakes beyond just whether your turnips would grow on time. What made this one stand out was its branching storylines and multiple endings. Depending on how you spent your time, whether focusing on farming, helping townsfolk, or exploring events, you could unlock one of several different outcomes, making replayability a huge part of the experience. The PSP's visuals gave the game a polished look too, with colorful character art and a charming world that felt more alive than ever compared to past entries. It wasn't the flashiest game on the system, but it had that cozy time-sync quality that fans loved. It was the kind of game where you'd pick it up to water your crops for just 10 minutes and suddenly realize hours had flown by. Harvest Moon Hero of Leaf Valley may be number 50, but it's proof that sometimes the quietest games leave the loudest impact. Next at number 49 is Pursuit Force. If you owned a PSP back in the day, you probably remember Pursuit Force for one reason. It was pure, over-the-top arcade chaos. This wasn't your standard cop game. You weren't just chasing criminals, you were leaping from car to car, guns blazing, like an action hero straight out of a blockbuster movie. The premise was simple, but insanely addictive. You played as a rookie cop taking on 5 different gangs across Capital City, each with their own unique vehicles, weapons, and missions. One second you're blasting through a freeway shootout, the next, you're hijacking a speeding sports car mid-chase, or skimming across water in high-octane boat battles. The transitions were seamless. Giving you that constant adrenaline rush, the PSP was perfectly built to deliver. What made Pursuit Force so special was how it pushed the boundaries of what a handheld could handle. It looked slick, it played fast, and it felt like a game that belonged on a home console. But here it was, fitting in your pocket. Sure, the difficulty could be brutal at times, but that only made victory even sweeter. Pursuit Force proved that handheld action could be just as wild, cinematic, and unforgettable as anything on the PS2.
Because the next time you see it, I'm punching your ticket for good.
Thank you. I thought I was a goner for sure.
Nice work. Now, get after Deadeye.
Next at number 48 is Wipeout Pure. When the PSP launched, Wipeout Pure was one of the games that showed just how futuristic Sony's handheld could feel. This wasn't just a racer, it was a blisteringly fast-to-gravity showdown that looked and played like something straight out of a console. The clean, sharp visuals and slick art style made it one of the most stylish games in the entire PSP lineup. The gameplay was classic Wipeout. You're piloting sleek hovercrafts at breakneck speeds through neon-lit tracks, dodging, boosting, and blasting opponents with a whole arsenal of futuristic weapons. What made Pure stand out was how smooth it ran on the PSP. With rock-solid performance that kept every hairpin turn and every turbo boost feeling razor-sharp. It also doubled down on replayability. With multiple classes, unlockable tracks, and time trials, there was always a reason to jump back in. And for the hardcore fans, Wipeout Pure was the first PSP game to support downloadable content, something almost unheard of on handhelds back in 2005. With its mix of speed, style, and cutting-edge tech, Wipeout Pure wasn't just a racer. It was a statement. The PSP wasn't here to play catch-up with other handhelds. It was here to push boundaries. Next at number 47 is Lumines. Sometimes the simplest ideas turn into the most addictive games, and Lumines is proof of that. Designed by Tetsuya Mizuguchi, the creative mind behind Rez, this wasn't just another puzzle game. It was a hypnotic mix of block matching and music that completely hooked PSP players. The gameplay was straightforward. Drop two colored squares onto a grid and match them up into bigger blocks as a timeline sweeps across the screen to clear them. But the real magic came from how every move synced with the soundtrack. Beats, visuals, and gameplay blended into one, creating a rhythm-based puzzle experience that felt fresh and unique. What really made Lumines shine on PSP was its portability. This was the perfect pick-up-and-play title. You could dive in for 5 minutes on a bus ride, or get lost in its trance-like flow for hours. The crisp visuals and pulsing electronica soundtrack turned what could have been just another Tetris clone into something that felt cool, stylish, and timeless. Lumines became one of the PSP's sleeper hits, showing that not every must-play on the system had to be about big explosions or cinematic stories. Sometimes, all it took was color, rhythm, and flow. Next at number 46 is LocoRoco. If there was ever a game that showed off the playful side of the PSP, it was LocoRoco. Bright, bouncy, and endlessly charming, this quirky platformer was unlike anything else on the system. Instead of controlling the little blob-like creatures directly, you tilted the entire world using the PSP's shoulder buttons. Rolling, bouncing, and squishing the LocoRoco through colorful levels filled with catchy music and strange critters. What made LocoRoco stand out was its personality. Each of the LocoRoco had their own songs and gibberish voices, and as you collected more, they'd all sing together, creating this joyful, almost childlike chorus that stuck in your head long after you put the game down. Add in the vibrant art style, smooth animation, and imaginative level design, and it felt like pure happiness packed onto a UMD. But don't let the cuteness fool you. LocoRoco was also a clever platformer, with hidden paths, collectibles, and creative puzzles that rewarded exploration. It was a perfect fit for handheld play, offering short bursts of fun or longer sessions if you wanted to lose yourself in its world. LocoRoco was proof that the PSP wasn't all about flashy realism. It could also deliver pure, unfiltered joy. Next at number 45 is Syphon Filter, Dark Mirror. By the time Syphon Filter Dark Mirror hit the PSP in 2006, a lot of fans weren't sure how well the franchise would translate to a handheld. But Ben's studio absolutely nailed it, delivering one of the best third-person shooters on the system and proving the PSP could handle console-quality action. You step back into the shoes of Gabe Logan, the elite operative tasked with stopping global terror threats, and Dark Mirror wastes no time throwing you into tense missions filled with stealth, firefights, and spy gadgets. The mix of sneaking through enemy bases, using silenced weapons, and going loud with an arsenal of high-tech guns kept the pacing sharp and engaging. What really stood out was how ambitious this game was for a handheld. It had a full voice-acted story, cinematic cutscenes, and environments that looked dangerously close to PS2 quality. On top of that, the controls were surprisingly smooth, making it one of the most playable shooters on PSP. The cherry on top? Online multiplayer, which turned Dark Mirror into a go-to competitive shooter for PSP fans back in the day. Syphon Filter. Dark Mirror wasn't just a great portable spin-off. It was a statement that the PSP could deliver blockbuster action on the go.
Now!
On my way.
Let's go!
Next at number 44 is Killzone Liberation. When people think Killzone, they usually picture gritty first-person firefights on the PS2 and PS3. But on the PSP, Guerrilla Games took a bold risk with Killzone Liberation, shifting the series into an isometric, top-down shooter. And it worked brilliantly. Set after the events of the original Killzone, you once again play as Jan Templar, leading the fight against the Helghast in intense, squad-based missions. The perspective change wasn't just cosmetic, it completely reshaped how the game played. Instead of a run-and-gun FPS, Liberation leaned into tactical combat. You had to think about cover, squad positioning, and clever use of weapons to survive the Helghast's relentless attacks. What made it shine was the polish. The graphics pushed the PSP to its limits, with detailed environments, slick animations, and explosions that looked way beyond what most handhelds were capable of. Add in strong mission variety, vehicle segments, and even co-op multiplayer, and Liberation felt like a full-scale console experience in your pocket. It may not have been the FPS some fans expected, but Killzone Liberation proved that experimenting with a franchise can sometimes deliver the best results. For the PSP, it remains one of the system's smartest and most intense shooters. Next, at number 43, is Star Wars Battlefront 2. When the PSP got Star Wars Battlefront 2, it felt like a dream come true. Console-sized Star Wars battles shrunk down into your hands. While it wasn't a one-to-one port of the PS2 version, it captured the heart of what made the series great. Huge battles across iconic planets, multiple classes to choose from, and the thrill of taking part in galactic-scale warfare. On the PSP, the game focused heavily on ground combat, letting you join either the Republic, Separatists, Empire, or Rebels in fast-paced, objective-driven missions. You could play through historical campaigns or jump into galactic conquest mode, which gave the battles a strategic layer as you fought to control the galaxy sector by sector. What stood out was how ambitious it felt for a handheld in 2005, seeing dozens of troops, vehicles, and blaster fire filling the screen on a portable system was jaw-dropping at the time. Plus, the ability to play ad hoc multiplayer with friends gave it that classic Battlefront chaos even on the go. It might not have had the full space battles or polish of its console counterpart, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PSP delivered pure Star Wars magic anywhere you wanted. Next, at number 42, is Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex. The PSP had no shortage of anime tie-ins, but Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex stood out as one of the most polished and exciting. Based on the legendary cyberpunk anime, it dropped you into the role of Major Motoko Kusanagi, letting you dive headfirst into futuristic firefights against terrorists, hackers, and rogue AIs. Unlike many quick cash grab adaptations, this game felt like a real effort to capture the spirit of the series. It played as a third-person shooter, mixing fast-paced gunplay with hacking abilities and tactical gadgets. The variety of weapons and the ability to control Tachikoma, the fan-favorite spider-like tanks, added tons of flavor to the missions. Visually, it was sharp for a PSP title, bringing the sleek, high-tech world of Ghost in the Shell to life with strong environments and character models. The voice acting even featured the original English dub cast, which made it feel that much more authentic for fans of the show. While it might not have reinvented shooters, it gave PSP owners something rare, a solid, stylish adaptation that respected its source material. For fans of anime and cyberpunk action, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex was a portable standout. Next at number 41 is Phantasy Star Portable. If you were into action RPGs on the PSP, Phantasy Star Portable was one of those games that could eat up hundreds of hours without you even realizing it. Spun off from Phantasy Star Universe, this handheld entry stripped away the MMO trappings of its console counterpart and delivered a tighter, more focused single-player experience, while still keeping the addictive grind and flashy sci-fi combat the series was known for. You could fully customize your character, choose your class, and dive into mission-based gameplay filled with loot, upgrades, and flashy photon arts. Combat was fast-paced and flashy, with melee combos, ranged attacks, and spellcasting all blending together in real-time action. And while the story wasn't exactly groundbreaking, it gave fans a reason to push forward, meeting new allies and uncovering more about the Guardians and their ongoing fight against the Seed. But where Phantasy Star Portable really shined was in its multiplayer. With ad hoc co-op, you and your friends could team up, take on missions, grind for rare drops, and share the loot-hunting madness anywhere you wanted. It may not have been a full MMO on the go, but Phantasy Star Portable proved the PSP could handle big pug, loot-driven RPG experiences better than almost any other handheld. Next at number 40 is Ghost Rider. Licensed games on handhelds were always a gamble, but Ghost Rider on PSP turned out way better than anyone expected. Released alongside the 2007 film, it could have been a shallow tie-in, but instead it delivered a surprisingly fun blend of Devil May Cry-style combat and Road Rash-like bike action. You played as Johnny Blaze, cursed to become the fiery-skulled Ghost Rider, and the gameplay was split between two main styles. On foot, you unleashed brutal combos with your chain whip, pulling enemies in, juggling them in the air, and finishing them with fiery attacks. Then, between brawling segments, you'd hop onto Ghost Rider's Hell Cycle for high-speed highway battles, knocking rival riders off the road, dodging hazards, and unleashing supernatural attacks. The game leaned heavily on dark, comic-inspired visuals rather than just copying the movie, which gave it a lot more personality. The combat was simple but satisfying, especially when chaining together flashy finishers, and the mix of bike and brawler stages kept things from feeling repetitive. It wasn't the deepest action game on PSP, but it nailed the fantasy of playing as Marvel's Spirit of Vengeance. For fans of the character, Ghost Rider was one hell of a handheld ride. Next at number 39 is Fate Extra. The PSP was home to a ton of RPGs, but Fate Extra carved out its own space by blending dungeon crawling with visual novel storytelling. Based on the wildly popular Fate franchise, it dropped players into a digital world where they had to fight through a deadly tournament known as the Holy Grail War. You played as a student who gets swept into this virtual battle royale, forced to choose a servant, saber, archer, or caster to fight alongside you. Together, you'd face off against rival masters and servants in turn-based combat that wasn't your typical JRPG setup. Instead, it worked like a mix between rock, paper, scissors and strategy, requiring you to predict enemy patterns and plan moves ahead of time. Where the game really stood out was in its storytelling and atmosphere. Packed with dialogue, choices, and lore, it gave fans of the Fate series a whole new way to experience the universe, with familiar faces and brand new characters alike. The art direction and music kept that distinct Fate flavor, while the branching story paths added replayability. For PSP owners who loved anime-inspired RPGs, Fate Extra wasn't just another dungeon crawler. It was an immersive, stylish entry in one of Japan's most beloved franchises. Next at number 38 is Burnout Legends. If you wanted pure speed and over-the-top crashes on the PSP, Burnout Legends was the game to beat. EA took the best parts of the series, from the chaos of Burnout 3 Takedown to the slick tracks of earlier entries, and packed them into a handheld experience that felt just as fast and addictive as the console versions. The formula was simple but perfect. Race at insane speeds, weave through traffic, and send your rivals flying in spectacular slow-motion crashes. The PSP handled it surprisingly well, keeping that buttery smooth sense of speed that defined the series. And when you nailed a takedown, slamming opponents into walls or oncoming cars, it was just as satisfying on a handheld screen as it was on a TV. Burnout Legends wasn't just a cut-down port. It was a true greatest hits of the franchise. It included a wide mix of cars, modes, and tracks from across the earlier games, making it feel like a celebration of Burnout history. Add in quick pick-up-and-play sessions and wireless multiplayer, and it became one of the most replayable racers on the PSP. For fans of high-octane, arcade-style racing, Burnout Legends was pure handheld adrenaline. Next, at number 37, is Toy Story 3. Licensed movie games were everywhere in the PSP era, but Toy Story 3 stood out by being more than just a rushed tie-in. Released alongside the Pixar film, it delivered a surprisingly fun mix of platforming, action, and creativity that made it one of the best family-friendly titles on the system. The main story mode followed the movie's plot, letting you play as Woody, Buzz, and Jessie across levels packed with obstacles, enemies, and clever set pieces. Each character had unique abilities. Woody could swing with his lasso, Jessie had agility for balancing acts, and Buzz used his laser for ranged attacks. Switching between them kept the gameplay varied and lively. But the real highlight was the game's Toy Box mode. This open-ended playground let you roam around, complete missions, customize the world, and just mess around in a way that felt ahead of its time. For younger players, it was a blast of creativity. For older fans, it was a surprisingly deep side mode that added tons of replay value. Toy Story 3 wasn't just another movie tie-in. It was a genuinely fun platformer that captured the charm of Pixar's world and proved handheld adaptations could shine. Next at number 36 is Crash of the Titans. By the time Crash of the Titans arrived on PSP, the series had already shifted away from its classic platforming roots. But this game showed that Crash Bandicoot still had plenty of life left in him. Instead of just running and jumping through linear levels, this entry added a new combat-heavy twist, with Crash brawling his way through enemies while keeping his trademark wacky energy intact. The big hook was the Jack mechanic. Crash could fight and then take control of large mutant creatures, called Titans, each with their own unique abilities. From giant gorillas to electric-spitting beasts, these monsters turned the levels into chaotic playgrounds, letting you smash obstacles, solve puzzles, and take down enemies in creative ways. The humor was also on point. Crash's slapstick charm mixed with a goofy Saturday morning cartoon style that kept the game lighthearted and fun. On PSP, the visuals held up well, capturing that colorful, over-the-top vibe the series was known for. It wasn't the classic Naughty Dog-era Crash, but Crash of the Titans delivered a refreshing spin on the formula. For handheld players craving a mix of action, platforming, and monster mayhem, this was a portable adventure worth remembering. Next at number 35 is Ratchet and Clank, Size Matters. When the PSP got its own Ratchet and Clank game, fans wondered if the handheld could capture the series' signature mix of platforming, humor, and insane weaponry. Size Matters proved it could, and then some. Developed by High Impact Games, it brought the full Ratchet experience to portable form without losing the charm that made the franchise so beloved. The story kicks off with Ratchet and Clank's vacation being interrupted by a mysterious girl who drags them into another galaxy-spanning adventure. From there, it's classic Ratchet and Clank, tight platforming, wacky gadgets, and plenty of enemies to blast into bolts. The arsenal was as creative as ever, with weapons like the B-Mine Glove and the Shrink Ray adding hilarious twists to the combat. What really stood out was how close it felt to the console entries. The graphics were colorful and polished, the levels were varied and inventive, and the humor was spot on. Even on the smaller screen, it felt like a real Ratchet game rather than a watered-down spin-off. Size Matters showed the PSP could handle ambitious platformers just as well as shooters and RPGs, making it one of the system's most well-rounded action adventures. Next at number 34 is Daxter. Every great sidekick deserves their moment in the spotlight. And on the PSP, Daxter finally got his chance to shine. Developed by Ready at Dawn, this spin-off from the Jak and Daxter series put the wisecracking Ottsel front and center in a standalone adventure that turned out to be one of the PSP's best platformers. Set between Jak 2 and Jak 3, the story follows Daxter as he takes up a job as a pest exterminator while searching for his captured buddy, Jak. This setup was perfect for handheld play, giving players fun mission-based levels where Daxter uses his bug-spraying equipment not only as a weapon, but also as a jetpack and puzzle-solving tool. The game nailed the balance between humor and gameplay. Daxter's over-the-top personality carried the cutscenes, while the platforming was tight, polished, and varied. The standout moments came from the hilarious dream sequences, where Daxter imagines himself as the hero of famous movies, from The Matrix to Lord of the Rings. On top of that, the graphics were stunning for a handheld in 2006, showing off what the PSP could really do. Daxter wasn't just a spin-off, it proved that sidekicks can headline a top-tier adventure all on their own. Next at number 33 is Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. When it comes to strategy RPGs, few games are held in as high regard as Tactics Ogre, and the PSP remake of Let Us Cling Together is arguably the definitive way to experience it. Square Enix didn't just port the 1995 classic, they rebuilt it from the ground up with enhanced visuals, rebalanced mechanics, and an expanded script that made an already legendary story even richer. Set in the war-torn land of Valeria, the game throws you into a brutal tale of politics, betrayal, and moral choices. You play as Denam Pavel, a young warrior whose decisions shape the fate of entire nations. And unlike many RPGs of its era, Tactics Ogre gave you branching storylines with real consequences, ensuring every choice had weight. Gameplay-wise, it's tactical RPG perfection. Battles unfold on grid-based maps where positioning, class builds, and terrain control are everything. The PSP version also added the Chariot Tarot system, which let you rewind a few moves to correct mistakes, making the game more approachable without sacrificing its hardcore depth. With its incredible strategy, emotional storytelling, and endless replay value, Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together stands tall as one of the PSP's crown jewels for RPG fans. Next at number 32 is Call of Duty Roads to Victory. When Roads to Victory hit the PSP, it gave handheld players a true slice of the blockbuster way 2 action the franchise was known for. Built specifically for the system, it wasn't just a watered-down port. It was a full single-player campaign designed to bring cinematic battles to Sony's portable. The game put you in the boots of American, Canadian, and British soldiers, each with their own missions across Europe. From storming bunkers to defending towns and clearing enemy fortifications, it delivered plenty of mission variety to keep the action fresh. And for 2007, seeing large-scale firefights, chaotic skies, and explosions running on a handheld was downright impressive. Sure, aiming with the PSP's single analog nub took some getting used to, but once you adjusted, the gunfights felt fast and intense. Add in ad hoc multiplayer with several modes, and the game offered way more replay value than most expected. It might not have been the deepest entry in the series, but Call of Duty Roads to Victory packed enough spectacle, action, and firepower to cement itself as a standout shooter on the PSP. Next at number 31 is Warriors Orochi 2. For hack and slash fans on PSP, this was one of the ultimate ways to get that Musu fix on the go. By combining the over-the-top action of Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors, it delivered massive battlefields, endless enemy waves, and a roster so huge it almost felt impossible to keep track of. The story continued from the first game, with heroes from both universes once again teaming up to take down the demonic warlord Orochi. With over 90 playable characters, each with unique weapons and fighting styles, the variety was wild. Thanks to the tag team system, you could swap between 3 warriors mid-battle, chaining together combos and strategies that kept every fight fresh. On PSP, it was impressive just how well it captured the 1 versus 1,000 chaos the series is known for. The visuals were trimmed back from the console versions, but the scale and intensity of the battles remained intact, making it a technical standout for the handheld. If you loved button-mashing mayhem and epic crossovers, Warriors Orochi 2 was proof that the PSP could deliver large-scale Musu carnage anywhere, anytime.
Here is where you wither and die. Here is where you wither and die. Don't expect any mercy.
Are you sure you won't throw your life away?
You are nothing but a pawn.
Frankly, if you're working with Da Ji, then I think you've lost your touch.
Why do you have to be so serious? You suck the beauty right out of me. Masamune belongs to me.
Next at number 30 is Little Big Planet. The PSP port of Little Big Planet took everything we loved about Media Molecule's charming platformer and shrank it down into a handheld masterpiece. What made it special wasn't just the creative level design or the physics-based platforming. It was the fact that you had that iconic Sackboy adventure right in the palm of your hand. On PSP, Little Big Planet featured an all-new story campaign built from the ground up, with over 30 handcrafted levels spanning vibrant jungles, deserts, and futuristic cities. The game still delivered that playful, creative spark that made the franchise so beloved. Sackboy's platforming remained tight and satisfying, whether you were bouncing off launch pads, swinging on ropes, or solving quirky puzzles. But what really defined Little Big Planet was its philosophy: play, create, share. Even on PSP, you could create your own custom levels using the in-game editor, and then share them with the world. For a handheld game in 2009, this was groundbreaking. An endless stream of community creations meant you never ran out of new content to try. Packed with charm, creativity, and tons of replayability, Little Big Planet proved the PSP could deliver not just console-quality games, but also console-quality imagination. Next, at number 29, is The Third Birthday. Serving as a spin-off and spiritual successor to the Parasite Eve series, The Third Birthday was one of the boldest, most ambitious titles to ever hit the PSP. Square Enix reimagined the franchise into a third-person action shooter, and while it divided longtime fans, it stood out as a technically impressive and emotionally heavy handheld experience. You step into the role of Aya Brea once again, this time tasked with stopping mysterious creatures known as the Twisted from annihilating humanity. The game's central mechanic, the overdrive system, let you leap into the bodies of nearby soldiers in battle, shifting positions instantly to outmaneuver enemies or escape near certain death. It gave combat a unique, strategic flow that set it apart from other shooters on the platform. Beyond gameplay, The Third Birthday stood out for its cinematic storytelling and production values. Cutscenes looked stunning for a handheld title, and the haunting soundtrack added weight to Aya's tragic journey. While some players debated its direction compared to the original Parasite Eve games, it remains a daring experiment that showed just how far the PSP could push narrative-driven action. A dark, stylish, and unforgettable entry, The Third Birthday earned its place in PSP history.
Focus on the target.
Next, at number 28, is Midnight Club LA Remix. When it came to street racing on the PSP, Midnight Club LA Remix was pure adrenaline in your pocket. Rockstar took the console experience of Midnight Club Los Angeles and reimagined it for handheld play, packing in high-octane racing, slick visuals, and a city map that felt alive with energy. Instead of simply downsizing the PS3 version, Rockstar blended two worlds, a condensed Los Angeles and a completely new map of Tokyo, giving players two bustling cities to tear through. From muscle cars to exotic rides and even motorcycles, the game let you customize and upgrade your vehicles to truly make them your own. The gameplay stayed true to the series' trademark: blistering speed, tight controls, and chaotic races, where one wrong turn could cost you everything. The sense of freedom was unmatched on handheld, with open city exploration and dynamic challenges that kept you hooked. And thanks to the PSP's hardware, the game looked and ran shockingly well for the sheer scale it offered. Midnight Club LA Remix proved that handheld racing could feel just as intense and stylish as its console counterpart, making it one of the standout racing titles on the PSP. Next at number 27 is Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. GTA Chinatown Wars brought Rockstar's signature open-world chaos to the PSP in a way that felt both familiar and refreshingly different. Originally designed for handheld play, this entry took a bold step by going back to the roots of the series with a top-down perspective, while still packing in all the depth and insanity you'd expect from a modern GTA title. Set in Liberty City, The game follows Huang Li as he navigates a gritty underworld of crime, betrayal, and survival. Despite its portable nature, the game delivered an impressive amount of content. Story missions, drug-dealing side activities, gang wars, rampages, stunt jumps, and more. The drug trade system, in particular, became a standout mechanic, adding a layer of strategy and risk that made building your empire just as thrilling as pulling off a heist. On PSP, the game shined with crisper visuals, improved controls, and all the features of its console siblings, but in a compact package you could take anywhere. It was stylish, addictive, and incredibly replayable. Chinatown Wars proved that even on a smaller screen, Grand Theft Auto could still deliver the full, chaotic, crime-filled sandbox experience. Next, at number 26, is PataPon 3. By the time PataPon 3 marched onto the PSP, the quirky rhythm strategy series had already carved out a cult following. But this third entry pushed things further, transforming the simple drumming mechanics into something much bigger and bolder. At its heart, PataPon 3 still had the iconic gameplay loop. You, as the almighty deity, command your tiny one-eyed warriors through rhythmic drum beats. Each button corresponds to a drum, and combining them in patterns tells your army to march, attack, defend, or unleash special abilities. But this time, the game introduced a superhero PataPon, a customizable hero unit that you could level up, specialize, and deck out with powerful gear. The RPG elements hit a new high here, with multiple classes, deeper customization, and the ability to build squads tailored to your playstyle. The difficulty curve was also sharper, demanding precision and strategy in every battle. And with multiplayer added, you could finally team up with friends to conquer dungeons and bosses together, making it the most ambitious PataPon yet. It wasn't just another sequel. It was the grand crescendo of the series. PataPon 3 proved rhythm games could be strategic, challenging, and endlessly addictive. Next, at number 25, is Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, Another Road. When it comes to anime fighters on the PSP, Shin Budokai Another Road easily stands at the top. Building on the foundation of the first Shin Budokai, this sequel delivered a fresh story, improved mechanics, and fast-paced Dragon Ball action that felt tailor-made for handheld battles. The story mode is what sets it apart, an original what-if tale centered around future Trunks. Instead of just rehashing the anime arcs, Another Road gives players a unique scenario where Trunks faces new threats across branching timelines. This choice-driven campaign gave the game surprising replay value, letting players see different outcomes depending on their decisions. On the gameplay side, the combat was lightning quick, with smooth controls, flashy special moves, and transformations that captured the high-energy chaos of Dragon Ball fights. It was accessible enough for casual fans, but still deep enough to reward skill and timing. The PSP's hardware limitations didn't hold it back either. The visuals were crisp, and the fast load times kept the action flowing. For Dragon Ball fans, Shin Budokai, Another Road wasn't just another fighter. It was a reason to keep the PSP in your pocket at all times. Next, at number 24, is Silent Hill Origins. When Konami decided to bring Silent Hill to the PSP, fans were skeptical. How do you capture the oppressive fog, disturbing monsters, and psychological dread of the series on a handheld? But Silent Hill Origins proved it was possible, delivering a chilling prequel that felt right at home in the franchise. The game follows Travis Grady, a truck driver who stumbles into the cursed town of Silent Hill while searching for a missing girl. What unfolds is a deeply personal and horrifying journey, exploring both Travis's past trauma and the twisted secrets of Silent Hill itself. The portable format didn't water down the experience. Dark corridors, grotesque creatures, and that iconic static on your radio were all here in full force. Combat leaned more into melee weapons, with objects like hammers, knives, and even TVs becoming makeshift tools of survival. The limited inventory and breakable weapons added tension, making every encounter feel dangerous. The chilling soundtrack by Akira Yamaoka elevated the atmosphere, with haunting tracks that lingered long after you shut the PSP off. Silent Hill Origins wasn't just a spin-off, it was a proper Silent Hill experience, proving handheld horror could still get under your skin. Next, at number 23, is Soul Calibur Broken Destiny. The PSP might not seem like the ideal home for a flashy 3D fighter, but Soul Calibur Broken Destiny pulled it off brilliantly. Running on the same engine as Soul Calibur 4, this handheld entry managed to squeeze in fluid weapon-based combat, gorgeous visuals, and a roster packed with iconic fighters, making it one of the most polished fighting games ever released on portable hardware. Broken Destiny featured over 30 playable characters, including series staples like Mitsurugi, Taki, and Nightmare, alongside the infamous guest character Kratos from God of War. Wielding the Blades of Chaos against Soul Calibur's cast was a dream matchup, and it gave the game its own identity beyond just being a portable adaptation. While it lacked a traditional story mode, it introduced a unique gauntlet mode, a series of missions designed to sharpen your skills while delivering goofy scenarios and commentary. On top of that, the game included local ad hoc multiplayer, which meant you could battle friends anywhere, making it a must-have for competitive play on the go. Soul Calibur Broken Destiny wasn't just a portable spin-off. It was proof that the PSP could deliver a true console-quality fighter right in your hands.
Bring your death! To your knees! Enough! Enough! To your knees!
Next, at number 22, is Gran Turismo. When Sony announced Gran Turismo for the PSP, many doubted if a handheld could ever handle the real driving simulator. But when it finally launched, it proved the skeptics wrong, delivering one of the most ambitious racing experiences ever seen on portable hardware. With over 800 cars to collect and 35 tracks, including classics like Laguna Seca and Deep Forest Raceway, this was no stripped-down racer. It was a full-on Gran Turismo experience, right in your pocket. The game didn't feature a traditional career mode, but instead offered bite-sized single-player challenges where you could earn credits, unlock cars, and master tracks. For many players, the sheer joy came from building up their garage and seeing iconic rides, like a Nissan Skyline, Lamborghini Murcielago, or Ford GT, rendered with stunning detail on the PSP's small screen. On top of that, the ad hoc multiplayer let you race against friends, adding endless replay value. Whether you were a hardcore fan of the series or just someone who wanted a top-tier racing game on the go, Gran Turismo PSP set a new standard for what portable racing could be. It wasn't just a spin-off. It was Gran Turismo. Anytime, anywhere. Next at number 21 is Manhunt 2. Few games on the PSP pushed the boundaries of controversy like Manhunt 2. Developed by Rockstar, this stealth horror title threw players into the shoes of Daniel Lamb, a man with no memory, trapped in a sinister experiment and hunted across a brutal, decaying world. The game's mix of stealth and survival turned every dark alley and abandoned building into a test of nerve. The PSP version managed to capture the same gritty, violent atmosphere of the console release, with players sneaking through environments, using shadows to hide, and executing enemies in some of the most intense ways ever seen on a handheld. While heavily censored in certain regions due to its graphic content, the game still made headlines for its raw brutality and unflinching tone. But beneath the controversy was a tense and well-crafted stealth experience, one that rewarded patience, planning, and quick thinking. The PSP's portability made it even more unsettling. Playing Manhunt 2 on the go felt like sneaking forbidden horror into your own pocket. It may not have been for everyone, but for those who braved its darkness, Manhunt 2 became one of the most unforgettable, mature experiences on the PSP. Next at number 20 is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. When it comes to the PSP library, few games carried as much weight as Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. This wasn't just a spin-off. It was a full-blown prequel to the entire Kingdom Hearts saga, giving fans answers to questions they had been asking since the very first game. Set 10 years before Sora's adventure, Birth by Sleep let players experience the story through 3 different protagonists: Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. Each had their own journey, abilities, and perspective on the unfolding events, making it one of the most ambitious handheld RPGs of its time. The combat system refined the fast-paced action of Kingdom Hearts, introducing the command deck system that allowed for customizable combos, magic, and finishers. Perfect for the PSP's quick pick-up-and-play design. On top of that, the game looked absolutely stunning on Sony's handheld. Disney worlds like Neverland, Radiant Garden, and the Enchanted Dominion came alive with visuals that rivaled the PS2 entries. Add in emotional storytelling, heartbreaking twists, and a soundtrack that's still praised today, and you've got one of the PSP's crown jewels. For fans of action RPGs, Birth by Sleep wasn't just essential. It was one of the best reasons to own a PSP. Next, at number 19, is Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions. The PSP was home to plenty of RPGs, but few were as timeless as Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions. More than just a simple port, this was a fully enhanced remake of the 1997 PlayStation classic, bringing with it new cutscenes, updated localization, additional characters, and a level of polish that made it feel like the definitive version of the game. Set in the war-torn land of Ivalice, the game tells a dark and mature tale of politics, betrayal, and class struggle. With Ramza Beoulve caught in the middle of a conflict far bigger than himself, the tactical grid-based combat remained as deep and addictive as ever, allowing players to master job classes, experiment with strategies, and craft unstoppable squads. But what made the PSP version shine were the beautifully animated cel-shaded cutscenes that added emotional weight to the already incredible story. The improved translation also brought new depth to the dialogue, making the narrative feel richer and more dramatic. For strategy RPG fans, The War of the Lions is a masterpiece, a game that proved handhelds could deliver experiences as grand and unforgettable as any console epic. Next at number 18 is Castlevania: The Dracula X Chronicles. On the PSP, Castlevania: The Dracula X Chronicles wasn't just another entry in the series, it was a celebration of one of its most beloved chapters. This game was a full 2.5D remake of Rondo of Blood, a cult classic that many fans outside Japan never got to experience until this release. With redone visuals, remastered music, and tighter gameplay, it gave players the definitive way to enjoy Richter Belmont's legendary battle against Dracula. But what really made this package special was its extras. Hidden within was the original Rondo of Blood, perfectly preserved for fans who wanted to see where it all began. Even more importantly, it included the legendary Symphony of the Night, widely regarded as one of the greatest games ever made. To have all three versions bundled on one PSP disc felt like a treasure chest for Castlevania fans. Gameplay blended old-school challenge with modern polish, and the gothic atmosphere was as rich as ever. Whether you were revisiting these classics or playing them for the first time, Dracula X Chronicles delivered some of the finest 2D action platforming on the handheld. It was proof that Castlevania could thrive anywhere, even in your pocket. Next at number 17 is Tekken: Dark Resurrection. When it comes to fighting games on the PSP, nothing hit harder than Tekken: Dark Resurrection. A refined version of Tekken 5, this release brought console-quality fightings straight into the palm of your hand. It featured over 30 characters, including fan favorites like Jin, Kazuya, and Hwoarang, as well as newcomers like Lily and Dragunov, who quickly became staples of the series. The real magic of Dark Resurrection was how faithfully it translated the fast-paced, combo-heavy action of Tekken to a portable device. The graphics were stunning for the PSP, running smoothly and delivering crisp detail that made it one of the most visually impressive games on the handheld. Every punch, kick, and juggle combo felt just as tight as it did in the arcade. Beyond its technical achievement, the game had incredible replay value. Players could grind through Ghost Mode to fight an endless stream of AI opponents, unlocking customizations and testing their skills. Local multiplayer also turned it into a must-have for friendly rivalries, letting PSP owners settle matches anywhere. For many, Tekken: Dark Resurrection wasn't just a handheld spin-off. It was a full-fledged Tekken experience that proved portable fighters could be just as deep and addictive as their console counterparts. Next at number 16 is Dante's Inferno. EA's Dante's Inferno brought one of literature's darkest journeys to life, and the PSP version proved that the underworld could fit right into your pocket. Inspired loosely by Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, the game follows Dante as he descends through the 9 circles of hell to rescue Beatrice from Lucifer himself. Each circle, lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, and beyond, was filled with grotesque enemies, twisted environments, and massive bosses that captured the game's haunting atmosphere. On PSP, Dante's Inferno was surprisingly faithful to the console release. The hack-and-slash combat was fast, brutal, and deeply satisfying, with Dante wielding Death's Scythe alongside holy powers for devastating combos. Players could customize Dante by upgrading either holy or unholy abilities, adding a layer of progression and strategy to the carnage. What made it stand out on the PSP was how epic it felt despite the hardware's limitations. The cinematic cutscenes, detailed visuals, and responsive controls made it one of the most ambitious action games on the system. For handheld players craving something in the vein of God of War, Dante's Inferno delivered a hellish yet thrilling ride, proving the PSP could handle large-scale cinematic action without compromise. Next at number 15 is Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Impact. When it comes to anime adaptations on the PSP, few captured the scale and excitement of Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Impact. This game wasn't just a traditional 1v1 fighter. It blended flashy combat with large-scale battles, letting you take control of your favorite ninja and tear through waves of enemies in true Musou-style action. From the Kazekage Rescue Arc to the 5 Kage Summit and beyond, it let players relive some of the anime's biggest storylines right in the palm of their hand. The combat was fast, fluid, and loaded with over-the-top jutsu. Whether it was Naruto unleashing a massive Rasengan, Sasuke summoning Susanoo, or Pain raining down devastation, each move felt explosive and faithful to the anime. Boss fights against iconic characters like Itachi or Pain were cinematic and intense, with quick-time events adding extra flair to the battles. What made Ultimate Ninja Impact so beloved was the sense of scale. It wasn't just about duels, it was about fighting entire armies, bringing a level of chaos and spectacle that few handheld anime games attempted. With its large roster, vibrant visuals, and addictive combat, it stands as one of the ultimate Naruto experiences on PSP. Next at number 14 is Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. If you owned a PSP back in the day and loved racing games, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition was the ultimate street racing experience on the go. Rockstar brought its signature open city racing madness to handheld, and it didn't hold back. You weren't just following preset tracks. You had the freedom to blaze through neon-lit cities, cut across traffic, and push your car to the absolute limit in high-speed, chaotic races. What really set this game apart was the insane level of customization. Thanks to the Dub Magazine partnership, the game was stacked with licensed cars, SUVs, motorcycles, and a massive catalog of aftermarket upgrades. From rims, spoilers, and body kits to custom paint jobs, you could make your ride look and feel completely unique. On a handheld, this level of detail was mind-blowing. The races themselves were pure adrenaline. The AI was aggressive, the speeds were blistering, and the sense of freedom made every race unpredictable. Add in the killer soundtrack full of hip-hop and rock tracks, and you had the perfect vibe for late-night street racing. Simply put, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition proved that handheld racing games could feel just as thrilling as their console counterparts. Next at number 13 is Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. The PSP didn't get the full-scale Assassin's Creed games like consoles did, but Bloodlines was the perfect way to bring that experience into your pocket. Set right after the events of the first Assassin's Creed, this game followed Altair on a mission to hunt down the last remaining Templars in Cyprus. It bridged the gap between the original game and its sequels, making it a must-play for fans invested in the series' story. For a handheld title, Bloodlines captured the essence of Assassin's Creed really well. You still had free running across rooftops, stealth assassinations, sword combat, and a surprising amount of open environments to explore. While it wasn't as big as the console versions, it nailed that feeling of freedom and gave PSP players a taste of what made the series so special. One of the coolest things about Bloodlines was its connection to the PS3. If you had Assassin's Creed 2 on your console, you could link the two and unlock bonus weapons and upgrades. That kind of crossplay was ahead of its time and showed Ubisoft's ambition with the franchise. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines wasn't just a spin-off, it was a key piece of AC history on the PSP. Next at number 12 is GTA Liberty City Stories. When Rockstar brought Grand Theft Auto to the PSP, they proved that a full 3D open-world GTA experience could live on a handheld. Liberty City Stories takes players back to the gritty streets of Liberty City, serving as a prequel to GTA 3. You play as Tony Cipriani, a loyal member of the Leone crime family, as you rise through the underworld and deal with rival gangs, corrupt officials, and plenty of chaos along the way. What made Liberty City Stories such a standout was how much of the console GTA formula they managed to fit into a portable device. You had the same free-roaming gameplay, carjacking, missions, side activities, and mayhem in the streets, all with a full 3D world that looked stunning on the PSP's screen. The game also introduced new features not seen in GTA 3, like motorcycles and more interiors to explore, making Liberty City feel more alive than ever. Later on, it even got a PS2 port, but the PSP version was the original breakthrough that showed the handheld could handle ambitious open worlds. GTA Liberty City Stories was proof that the PSP wasn't just for quick play sessions. It could deliver full-blown blockbuster experiences. Next at number 11 is God of War Chains of Olympus. When God of War came to the PSP, fans wondered if Kratos' brutal, larger-than-life adventures could really translate to a handheld. Chains of Olympus answered that with a resounding yes. Acting as a prequel to the main series, it follows Kratos during his years of servitude to the gods of Olympus, diving into battles against mythological beasts, gods, and demons in a story filled with both rage and tragedy. The combat felt like classic God of War, fast, visceral, and endlessly satisfying. You had access to the Blades of Chaos, brutal combos, and epic finishing moves that felt every bit as cinematic as the console entries. For the PSP, this was a technical marvel. The game pushed the hardware to its limits with jaw-dropping visuals, smooth animations, and massive set pieces that made you forget you were playing on a portable system. But it wasn't just about spectacle. The story also revealed a more vulnerable side of Kratos, exploring his longing for his daughter and the pain behind his endless fury. That emotional depth made Chains of Olympus stand out as more than just a handheld spin-off. It was a true God of War experience. Next at number 10 is Dissidia Final Fantasy. Square Enix did something completely unexpected with Dissidia Final Fantasy. They turned their legendary RPG franchise into a flashy, arena-style fighting game. But this wasn't just a gimmick. It was a dream crossover that brought together heroes and villains from across the Final Fantasy series, from Cloud and Sephiroth to Zidane, Terra, and Kefka. Instead of traditional health bars, the game introduced a unique bravery system. You'd steal power from your opponent through fast-paced aerial combos and special attacks, then cash it in for devastating HP strikes. It added a layer of strategy that made battles more than just button-mashing chaos. For a PSP title, Dissidia was visually stunning. The characters were faithful to their iconic designs, the stages captured the spirit of each Final Fantasy world, and the soundtrack was packed with remixed classics that fueled the hype of every fight. It wasn't just fan service, it was fan service done right. What really made it shine was the sheer love for the franchise. Every cutscene, every interaction between characters felt like a celebration of Final Fantasy's history. For longtime fans, it was a dream come true. And for newcomers, it was an explosive introduction to the series' legacy. Next at number 9 is Jeanne d'Arc. Level 5 took a bold step with Jeanne d'Arc, crafting one of the PSP's finest tactical RPGs and reimagining history through a fantasy lens. Instead of sticking to the exact events of Joan of Arc's life, the game blends real-world history with magical storytelling, where demons, dark magic, and mythical powers collide with the 100 Years' War. You play as Jeanne, a young girl chosen by a mystical armlet to lead France against English invaders and demonic forces. Alongside a cast of loyal allies, you move across grid-based maps in strategic battles that reward careful planning, positioning, and smart use of abilities. The gameplay feels familiar to fans of Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, but with a unique flair, especially Jeanne's ability to transform mid-battle, unlocking powerful moves that can turn the tide of war. Visually, the game shines with anime-style cutscenes and colorful character art, giving the heavy subject matter a striking emotional weight. And the soundtrack, filled with orchestral tones, matches the game's grand, almost tragic atmosphere. It's a perfect mix of strategy, story, and style, an underappreciated gem that showed the PSP could deliver deep, console-quality RPGs on the go. Next, at number 8, is God Eater Burst. Before the rise of the Monster Hunter craze on handhelds, God Eater Burst carved its own niche on the PSP, with a thrilling mix of fast-paced action and epic monster hunting. Set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by Aragami, gigantic, feral creatures, players take on the role of a God Eater, a warrior armed with specialized weapons known as God Arcs that can transform between melee and ranged forms. The gameplay is addictive and intense. Each hunt requires careful planning, fast reflexes, and mastery of the God Arc's dual forms to take down massive, unpredictable enemies. The sense of scale is remarkable for a handheld, with monsters towering over your character and moving with a terrifying level of detail. Customization is also a major highlight. Players can craft new weapons, upgrade existing ones, and modify their armor and abilities to suit their preferred playstyle. Add in local multiplayer hunts and online modes, and God Eater Burst becomes a social and competitive experience as well. With its stunning visuals, high-octane combat, and relentless adrenaline, God Eater Burst proved that the PSP could deliver epic, console-quality monster hunting in the palm of your hand. Next at number 7 is Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Few games define the PSP like Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Capcom took the addictive hunting formula of the Monster Hunter series and packed it into a handheld masterpiece that became an instant classic. Players step into a vast world teeming with colossal monsters, each with unique behaviors, strengths, and weaknesses. Every hunt felt like a battle for survival, requiring preparation, strategy, and skill. The game's depth was staggering. With dozens of weapon types, armor sets, and crafting options, players could customize their hunters to perfection. Each mission wasn't just about slaying a monster, it was about tracking it, studying its patterns, and executing a flawless plan to bring it down. The multiplayer component elevated the experience further, letting you team up with friends in ad hoc co-op to tackle the toughest beasts together. Graphically, the PSP version managed to impress, bringing massive, detailed monsters and lush environments to a handheld device without sacrificing gameplay fluidity. The sense of scale and tension in each hunt made every victory feel earned. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite wasn't just a game, it was a phenomenon. It showcased the PSP's ability to deliver deep, endlessly replayable experiences and cemented the series as a must-play for portable gamers. Next at number 6 is GTA Vice City Stories. Rockstar proved once again that the PSP could handle full-scale open-world chaos with Vice City Stories. Set 2 years before the events of GTA Vice City, players take control of Victor Vance, a soldier-turned-gangster, navigating the neon-soaked streets of Vice City as he builds his criminal empire from the ground up. The game delivered everything fans loved about GTA: carjacking, wild missions, side activities, and the freedom to explore a living, breathing city, all while maintaining the series' trademark humor and over-the-top action. The PSP version even introduced new vehicles, missions, and story content, giving portable players a unique experience alongside the console versions. Graphics and sound were exceptional for the handheld, with detailed cityscapes, a pumping soundtrack, and fully voiced characters that brought the world to life. Multiplayer modes allowed you to team up with friends or compete in chaotic free-for-all matches, extending replayability and fun. GTA Vice City Stories was more than just a portable GTA. It was a full-fledged, console-quality open-world game you could carry in your pocket. For fans craving the chaos, freedom, and adrenaline of Vice City anytime, anywhere, this was the ultimate handheld experience. Next at number 5 is Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. Before the long-awaited Final Fantasy VII remake, the PSP brought fans into the world of Midgar and beyond with Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. This prequel tells the story of Zack Fair, the young soldier whose actions and sacrifices set the stage for the events of the original game. It's a tale of friendship, duty, and tragedy, emotional storytelling at its finest on a handheld. Crisis Core combined fast-paced, real-time combat with RPG progression. The Digital Mindwave DMW system added a unique spin, randomly triggering special attacks, limit breaks, and even leveling up characters mid-battle. It kept every fight tense and unpredictable, giving the game an edge that set it apart from traditional turn-based RPGs. The game didn't skimp on presentation either. Cutscenes were cinematic, character models detailed, and the soundtrack packed with iconic FF7 themes that made you feel the weight of every story moment. From high-speed missions through Midgar to epic battles against Sephiroth, the PSP experience felt monumental. For fans of Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core wasn't just a spin-off. It was essential. It brought one of the most beloved stories to life on the go, proving the PSP could deliver epic, console-quality RPG adventures. Next at number 4 is Tekken 6. When it comes to fighting games on the PSP, Tekken 6 stands as a definitive example of what the handheld could achieve. Building on the legacy of previous Tekken titles, this entry brought the full roster, fluid combat, and polished mechanics from the console series into a portable package without compromise. Tekken 6 features over 40 characters, including iconic fighters like Jin, Kazuya, King, and newcomers such as Lars Alexanderson. Each character comes with a unique moveset and playstyle, allowing players to master combos, juggles, and devastating special attacks. The combat system is tight and responsive, translating perfectly to the PSP's controls, ensuring every fight feels fair, fast-paced, and strategic. Beyond the standard arcade and versus modes, the game introduced new features like challenge mode and a robust story mode, offering hours of content. Multiplayer added even more value, letting players settle rivalries through ad hoc battles with friends on the go. Graphically, Tekken 6 pushed the PSP to its limits, with detailed arenas, fluid animations, and cinematic finishing moves that retained the console feel. For handheld fighting fans, it was more than a game. It was a fully fledged Tekken experience that proved the PSP could deliver serious competitive action. Next at number 3 is Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 Portable. When Persona 3 Portable hit the PSP, it transformed one of the most acclaimed JRPGs of its generation into a handheld masterpiece. Building on the original Persona 3, this version introduced new features, a fresh female protagonist option, and gameplay refinements that made it the ultimate way to experience the Dark Hour. The game blends traditional turn-based combat with life simulation mechanics, allowing players to navigate high school life, build social links, and explore the mysterious, monster-filled Tartarus. The decisions you make in daily life directly influence your combat abilities, making every choice matter and creating a deeply personal experience. Combat is strategic and satisfying, with the ability to summon personas, manifestations of your inner psyche, to unleash devastating attacks. The new female protagonist option brought a fresh perspective and expanded relationship possibilities, adding even more replay value. Beyond gameplay, the PSP version retained the series' iconic art style, haunting soundtrack, and darkly stylish aesthetic. Every shadow, dungeon crawl, and social interaction was crafted to perfection, making it one of the most complete and engrossing experiences on the handheld. Persona 3 Portable isn't just a port, it's a definitive edition that proves the PSP could handle complex, story-driven RPGs with depth and style. Next at number 2 is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. When Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker arrived on the PSP, it didn't just feel like a portable entry in the series. It felt like a full-fledged MGS experience in your pocket. Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions managed to capture the cinematic storytelling, intricate gameplay, and tactical espionage that define the franchise, all while keeping it perfectly tailored for handheld play. Set in 1974, the game follows Big Boss as he builds his mercenary army and confronts the threat of a nuclear-equipped AI weapon. Peace Walker expanded on the stealth mechanics fans loved, offering refined CQC combat, improved AI, and a variety of gadgets and weapons to tackle missions. The game also introduced an innovative mother-based system, letting players recruit soldiers, expand facilities, and manage resources, a feature that added strategy alongside the classic stealth action. On top of that, the game supported co-op play and ad hoc multiplayer, making missions even more engaging when teaming up with friends. Cinematics, voice acting, and a gripping soundtrack elevated the storytelling to console-level quality, proving the PSP could deliver blockbuster experiences. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker wasn't just a portable spin-off, it was a major entry in the series, and one of the PSP's most ambitious and polished titles. Finally, at number 1 is God of War Ghost of Sparta. When it comes to the PSP library, God of War Ghost of Sparta stands tall as the pinnacle of portable gaming. Following the brutal journey of Kratos, this prequel dives deeper into his past, exploring his origins, family, and the haunting events that shaped him into the God of War. It's a story of rage, loss, and vengeance, perfectly suited to the series' signature epic style. The gameplay is pure God of War, fluid combos, cinematic finishing moves, and larger-than-life boss battles that push the PSP to its absolute limits. Players wield the Blades of Chaos and unleash devastating abilities while navigating intricate environments filled with traps, puzzles, and hidden treasures. The combat feels weighty and visceral, capturing the intensity of console entries without compromise. What makes Ghost of Sparta truly remarkable is its presentation. The graphics are stunning for a handheld, with detailed character models and environments that rival early console entries. The soundtrack, epic cutscenes, and immersive storytelling bring Kratos' world to life, making every battle feel monumental. For anyone looking for the ultimate PSP experience, God of War Ghost of Sparta isn't just a game, it's a statement. It proves that handheld gaming can deliver cinematic, adrenaline-pumping action on par with any console. Look, the Nintendo DS might have sold more units, but when it came to variety, quality, and pushing handheld hardware to its absolute limit, the PSP stood in a league of its own. These games didn't just entertain, they defined an era of portable gaming. And even today, whether you're dusting off the original hardware or firing up a PSP emulator, it feels like stepping right back into that golden age where your whole gaming world fit inside your pocket. It's a little bittersweet knowing the Vita never lived up to the dream, but the PSP's legacy, untouchable. Thanks for watching. Drop your favorite PSP game down in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into gaming's greatest moments.